don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this 338th episode of the Political Spotlight. I am your host, Kristopher H. Bilbrey, and we are doing fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday fun day. And I guess say that every day because it all rhymes with day, right? Today was a weird day. I didn't do a whole lot, but I talked to a couple different people about last night's show. I didn't think that last night's show, in the grand scheme of things, last night's show was just kind of a Bilbrey bitch fest. It was just me kind of griping at things that I don't like, specifically griping about the communication issue, which is basically the bottom line of every episode here, basically. Hey, Alva, I'm glad to hear that. I've had a lot of people talk to me about that. People have asked me if we can increase the size of the writing at the bottom, and I'm like, nope. Unfortunately, that's that is YouTube. I can't do anything about that, but I'm glad that you can finally see. I imagine that makes driving better, and your entire life just loads better, being able to actually see what you're doing. That's fantastic. So yes, Kate, that one, ma'am. Thank you kindly. I had to do the whole a doctor visit thing with my grandfather today, and while I'll say that we didn't get the news that we wanted, we didn't get bad news. Matter of fact, we got really good news. The doctor is right in believing that my grandfather is healthy. Things are going well. The news that we wanted, for those of you that are in the world caring about this, our hope was that we would be done with the medicine today, that we would have to he could get the pick out of his arm, the lumen, and that we wouldn't have to be handcuffed by daily medicine. Unfortunately, we've got to do 3 more weeks of medicine, but that's not the end of the world. He's free to do things. The doctor said that he wanted him to. Matter of fact, he wanted him to get more active and get out and do things, and go and live life. He'll be out of the sling next Monday, so in just a couple days, rather, less than a week now, he'll be out of the sling, and then 3 more weeks of the medicine through the IV pick thing in the arm, and we're praying we'll be done at that point. So just FYI to all of you out there, I know that a lot of you have been asking about that. We appreciate that. Appreciate your thoughts and prayers. And that's what we've been doing. Now on to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. We've got a lot to discuss tonight. We kind of stumbled on some information, and it's kind of funny because I didn't plan on last night's show being what last night's show was. It just kind of was, it generated out of what was currently going on. And I was speaking from my heart and telling you guys how I felt about the things that were going on over the last couple of days with reaching out and trying to communicate with elected officials, with public servants, and how frustrated I have been. And I will tell you, while attempting to deal with a whole new set of government workers, government employees, public servants, I stumbled upon more of the same. Who would have thought? You know what I mean? And then we found out a couple of things today. I've been hearing some rumblings about an event going on that I've been kind of keeping my ear to the ground on. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We're going to talk about the city of Muncie. Of course, we're going to talk about tomorrow's council meeting. So we've got a lot going on, and it's almost Thanksgiving too. We might talk about some Thanksgiving stuff here at the very, very end. So we're getting ready to get into the holiday thing and doing that. And so we'll give you guys a little bit of information here at the end of this episode. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. I know that you guys could be anywhere, whether you're watching live or you're watching via replay into the future. Welcome. We are broadcasting this live on Monday, November 25th, 2024. For those keeping track, that means there are 56 days until the presidential inauguration on Monday, July 20th. 56 days until that. There are 37 days until the term 2025 takes over. That'll be January 1st. And of course, that means there are 36 days until the end of the year. So that's that. I want to ask that you please do us a favor and help feed the algorithms. Do the things that you can. Subscribe if you haven't. Click the bell. Do all of that stuff. Give us a like if you do. If you're watching currently live, comment over here on the side. If you're watching in the future at your own time, comment below. And of course, most importantly, share the show with everyone you know. So, last night I went kind of on a tear, griping about the Delaware County Council and griping about a couple of my nemesis on the council and their inability to communicate. And what's funny is, before I went on that, before I got on my soapbox, I had done a pretty good job of laying out the fact that those within Muncie city government will answer me. And it's not, I might not like the answer that I get, but at least they do respond. And I am able to get questions answered. So imagine my surprise today when I was unable to do that. I was, it just absolutely amazes me. I was talking to my grandparents earlier about, it's just, well, last night, Alva said something and I didn't get back to it. So that's where I want to start. And then it'll feed into what I was saying to my grandparents. So Alva last night said that common sense isn't actually common, because what may be common sense for me is not necessarily common sense for you. Or if you're someone that works in, any kind of service really, or if you work for the government or whatever, you don't know what any specific person knows or doesn't know. And I said, to a certain extent, I agreed with that. I definitely understand where he's coming from. And somebody else, I don't know if it was Joe or maybe Stumblefoot, said something to the effect of, it might have been Hummel, Clint Hummel, that said, the more advanced that you are in a subject, that's like a double-edged sword, more or less, that the more advanced you get in a field of study or, your work or whatever you do, your hobbies or whatever, that you kind of leave behind the people that are not specifically in that line of work or interested in that hobby, or they're not studying it the way that you are. And so while it makes you extra knowledgeable about that stuff, you kind of leave the rest behind. And I definitely understand that. And I understand that when I go up to talk to city or county or town or state or federal public workers, that they're looking at me as just another idiot citizen coming up to talk to them. And I think to avoid the issue of trying to talk over someone's head that might not understand and trying to undertalk somebody who might greatly understand what's going on, I think the best way for them would be to allow the citizen to speak and for them to listen. For them to listen. I think that would be probably better. I think it would be helpful. I used to sell cars at Gaddis Chrysler in Muncie, and love Steve Gaddis. For those of you that know Steve, I count Steve as a member of my family. He's the people that I became friends with there and worked with there are people that I will cherish in my life for the rest of my life. And Steve's dad, unfortunately, he passed last year or the year before. Bill Gaddis, he passed away. But Bill was the quintessential car salesman. Like I remember we had a car salesman who's I mean, this is hardcore, whose father had passed away, and he got the call at work, and he's like, "Hey, I got to go. My dad just passed away." And Bill's like, "You got to leave now? You can't stay here and sell a car?" Like, I hate that he's gone, but he is gone. You really can't do anything for him. So why don't you just stay here and sell a car? If you would have told me that he's like on his deathbed, that would make sense. But he's like gone. So wouldn't you want him? Wouldn't he want you to stay here and make a sell? Now, in most places, that would probably get somebody punched in the mouth. But the people that worked at Gaddis understood how Bill was, and Bill meant it in love, and he was joking, kind of. And I always loved, I like that. I love that kind of thing. Yes, Alva, I think that to myself. I don't say that to people, but I think that to myself countless times a day, what you just said right there. But one of the things that Bill said to me that I have always taken to heart, and I tell to people, I've said it on here, If I've said it once, I've said it a billion times. And that is, God created you perfectly. Created you perfectly. And he created you with one mouth and two ears, which means you should listen twice as much as you should talk. And a lot of times, elected officials, public officials, people in government believe that improving communication, they believe that someone demanding communication means that they should talk more. And that is not what that means. Improving communication means first you need to listen. You need to listen more. You need to find out what the problem is. My uncle used to say the first thing that would happen when someone got in a car accident would be, they would either freak out and they would hit the gas, which would be bad, or they would immediately hit the brake, which could ultimately be bad. And he always said, the very first thing that you need to do is take your foot off the accelerator, but just kind of look and see what's going on. Take stock of what's going on before you then make a decision on what you're going to do. And so many people, they don't do that. Their first reaction is to just react. And a lot of times that reaction is worse. And I feel that translates over to what I'm talking about, the communication. A lot of times people get in office and they think, well, I'm just going to talk more, and that means I'm communicating better. I'm improving communication. Communication is being improved because of me. And it's like, no, that's not exactly true. That's not exactly true. So it's hard to it's hard. It's hard for me, Yes, that's exactly right. Hey, that is 100%. I always tell everybody else, there's a couple things. You have a couple things. You're more than welcome to come on the show and state your piece and listen to mine. I'll even give you the last word, because once you're off, then I can talk for the rest forever. Or number two, you can create your own podcast and get your own microphone and make your own platform and do it bigger, better, badder, louder, whatever. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, better communication comes from listening and understanding what's going on, being able to ferret out what's happening. Okay, this is what's being asked of me. The perfect example is, the emails from last night that I talked to you about. So I sent out 3 emails, and all 3, Jack, that would be interesting. It would be like Bilbrey and the Anarchist. So the thing is, I sent out 3 emails to these 7, 8, 10, 11 people, and each one of the 3 emails asked for a different thing. The first email asked for the initial request, which was the email from the 18th. The second email chastised them for not answering or responding to the first email, and it then asked for additional emails. And then the last email just blasted Matt for being how he was, and then told them again to look for any extra emails. However, we still have people that have not responded. Still, after all of that, and after last night's show, and after my post about it, and after everything about it, there are still elected officials that have not responded to that email. Of the ones that have, a couple of them, like Mr. Kantz, Counselor Kantz, he responded, all told, crying. He responded twice, and each time he responded, he clearly proved to me that he did not comprehend what I was asking of him. Now, is it because I was speaking in Russian? No. Was it a complicated read? No. Was it like longer maybe than he would have liked? Probably, but it wasn't even one of my longer emails. The bottom line is he was just mad, and so it jaded his way of seeing what I was asking. There were other people that did the same thing, and then they corrected their action without me even having to call it to their attention. They must have went back and seen it, or something happened, because I think what they did is they got my third response to him, and then they went back and they corrected what was being asked, if you want my honest opinion. Let's see what over here. Let's see what here. Kate says, more talking does not equate intelligence or actual conveyance of information. Absolutely true. And she says, communication, a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behaviors. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, it's like a computer program. If there's something that's not allowing that data to get through from, the flash drive to the hard drive, or from, the keyboard to the computer, or from the microphone to my soundboard, if there's a break in that current, or a break in that, whatever it is that sends from here to there, then the information's not going to be received. And a lot of times it's because people, I think when you stick your thumb up your ass, it also shuts off your ears. Because I've noticed that a lot of elected officials have this problem where they sit around with their thumbs up their ass, and it like shuts off their ears. So, it's kind of a strange thing, but I always say, pull your thumbs out and see if that helps. But maybe it's my way. Maybe I need a better way of communicating. And it's, when I say I mean ours, because we're not the only people. I'm not the only person. So you all remember last week's episodes. There were a couple different episodes. There was one where I teased it, and then there was one episode last week where we talked about it pretty much the whole time. And that was the fact that Dustin Clark resigned on last Friday. Friday the 22nd, he resigned from Prairie Creek. And the rumor is, and it's a pretty consistent rumor, and it's pretty much been confirmed by multiple sources at this point. That guy was always like saying, who's flashing that on that? What's going on? What's happening? The rumor is that once he quit working at Prairie Creek, he was then immediately going to come work under Dan, for Dan, at City Hall, in the mayor's office, getting paid. So after I discussed this last week, after I broke this last week, I wanted to reach out to Dan. Thank you, Jeff. I wanted to reach out to Dan personally, as I told you I would. I told you guys I would reach out to Dan personally and ask a series of questions. And the questions really didn't have anything to do with each other. I was going to send out one email with a couple of different questions. I was going to ask about Richard Ivey's deal. I'm going to ask Richard Ivey independently. I'm going to ask Richard Ivey himself as well. I was going to ask about the Dustin Clark, the contract. And, I was going to ask about what the city has in its possession that shows that something changed hands and some kind of deal was made for Store Estates, and that D.R. Horton took possession of one property, or they took possessions of 9 properties, or 3 properties, or however many properties that Dan is claiming that they took. I ask about that. I've also had this sneaking question, and I noticed that none of you have, maybe you've thought about it, but none of you have said anything here about it in a while. But I've been having this gnawing thing back there saying, what's going on with the crisis center? What's going on with the crisis center? So I had those questions. Now, I didn't talk to you guys about the crisis center thing. I was just going to put that in there. So I sent an email out to Dan, and this email, it was a little funky. So the email, I started writing the email on Friday morning, and I didn't get it all sent. I didn't get it out until Saturday, but Dan got the email on Saturday. And the email simply just says, Mayor Ridenour, during your most recent community update, you mentioned that Dustin Clark would be resigning as the PCR supervisor as of Friday, November 22nd, 2024. I've heard rumors that he'll now be working as a contract employee in the mayor's office directly under you. I would like a copy of the contract that he and the city will have entered into. Also, you spoke about D.R. Horton and Store. I wonder if the city has any documentation showing that D.R. Horton has closed on a property or 9. I would greatly appreciate it if you could reply as soon as possible. This information would be helpful in clearing these issues up and these questions for myself and the public. And I sent that to the mayor. Now, I left out the question about Richard, and I left out the question about the crisis center because I planned on sending those in a separate email. Because I don't want to overburden Dan. Because Dan is somebody that if you write anything long at all, if you go into too much craziness, he just shuts down and will not respond. So I thought, all right, I'm going to leave it to him at, 2 emails, 2 questions per email. Just real short, sweet, wham, bam, thank you, man. Well, of course, ladies and gentlemen, Ridenour has not responded. I think that's interesting because I know for a fact that his secretary, Shireen Wegley, also will go through his emails and will also respond from time to time. So, to me, that means I have 2 people that's working for the mayor's office that is responsible for messaging within the mayor's office, and neither one of those people answered this email. Okay? Yeah. Don't pressure Dan or he'll have to increase. He'll have to take 3 more trunk shrimp a day. So, I thought, all right, well, it's Saturday, it's Sunday. He's not going to answer that. It's Monday. Maybe he'll answer today. Well, he's not answered at all today. So today's really the first day. So I'm not overly upset with him. I'm not overly mad at what goes on there. It seems Amber writes Dan's words for him. Nah, I have to disagree with that. Specifically because I'll tell you this. Well, I guess it depends on what words you're talking about. So the press releases are done by the communications director. Amber does all the press releases. Now there are things, and this was the same under Michelle. And it's been the same under all of them, that there are times when Dan would go to the communications director, be it Amber, be it Michelle, be it whoever, and would say, I want a press release on the crisis center. Go. And they would say, well, what do you want me to tell about it? And he would say, well, I want you to tell that we're opening here. I'm going to give you some information. And they would come up with the press release, and then Dan signs off on it, they sign off on it, and release it. So yeah, Amber, just as Michelle and anyone else, comes up with those words. There are, however, emails where, or not emails rather, but press releases where Dan will come to Amber or Michelle or whoever and say, here's a press release, put this out. And depending on what it is, she may rework it some or just work the bugs out and then release exactly what Dan says. I will say that Dan is too much of a he's a control freak. Dan is a control freak. He does not like doling out responsibilities to people. He likes to keep as much internal as possible. And I get that. I absolutely get that. You know, I've thought for a long time, like, how great it would be to, like, reach out to Ball State and to, like, say, hey, we would like to talk about getting interns to come work for the political spotlight and have them research. And one of their jobs would be, you know, all they do is post on social media. But I would never give that. There's only two people that I would give that responsibility to, because I feel like they know exactly my style of writing and the way that I think and the way that I look at things. And I would never worry about how they handle something. And one would be Kate, because I trust Kate has that. Kate's read my bullshit and has listened to my bullshit long enough that she knows how to parrot back my bullshit. And she can come up with her own Bilbrey bullshit, and it would be like something that I wrote. And then there's the other unnamed person that I will not name, but there's another person. There's only two people. I would never. It is a skill. It is definitely a skill. Tweety Bird. Yes, the other person is Tweety Bird. The Thomas Avondale Neighborhood Association voted down our support for IU's little profit-driven project, but it seems that Cheese Woman is going to shut it down. Yes, listen, it's coming. So I have seen Yes. Ah. Uh, yes. Everybody would be like, what in the hell is wrong with Bilbrey all of a sudden? And they'd be like, oh, it's Tweety Bird writing for him. I now see the whole writing on the wall, Stumblefoot, with this Thomas Avondale Neighborhood Association thing, with this clinic and the housing they're going to do. It was announced the other day. I get it. I understand why they didn't do it originally. I understood why they waited off on it. And this is going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to have to, it's not, I think that this is something that Dan thinks is a done deal. I'm probably ignorant in my belief that I think there are still some things that have to go before the council. Gretchen Cheeseman. Now, here's something that might throw a monkey wrench in that. And this is a situation where I always say, I don't like talking about people's personal outside of the public eye, outside of public business life. I don't like talking about who's people's dating and whose, boots are under the bed and who don't even care anymore, all that stuff. I don't talk about that stuff unless and until it affects and it crosses into what goes on in public life. And so this is one of those cases where, unfortunately, I have to talk about that. So Gretchen Cheeseman is in a romantic relationship with Steve Selvey. They have been an item for some time. I would say they've been an item since at least the primary in 2023, because someone sent me a picture of them walking in to vote holding hands. So, I don't know what else to make of that. I've never made much of a stink about this because it's never really mattered, but it does matter now, because what did I just announce last week? Selvey is getting ready to retire. And I have long heard from lots of different folks that when he retires, he is retiring to Belize. He spends a lot of time there already. My question is, and this is something that I talked about it briefly. I don't even think I mentioned it on the show. I think I just posted about it. But I have a serious question with that, as are we actually going to see 3 department heads leave? Dustin Clark, who left last Friday, he's gone. And Steve Selvey, who's leaving on the 31st. Will we be seeing the community development woman be leaving? That would be interesting. And I want to see what goes on with that department if and when she leaves. I want a total accounting of everything that's been going on, because there are some serious questions there that I have. But I'll get back to that in a second. Let me answer John's question here. What about the solar project? So really what we're talking about currently is the city. And so they're not really dealing with solar. What you're implying about is the solar in the county. And currently there is a solar moratorium in place for both the commissioners for any kind of solar activity, period. And then there is a solar moratorium for tax abatements from the council. So the council can't look at and, start making deals with and, getting people lined up for solar. So right now, technically, it's dead in the water, but that doesn't mean that permanently. It will come roaring back, and we will have to take it on, and we will have to be fighting because of various points. Now, producer Kate here has said she heard a rumor that Randolph County might be looking to redo their solar ordinance and wind ordinance in response to so many people pissed off people. Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be interesting. Space Cat. That goes right along with what I'm talking about. That's interesting. I will get right to that nightmare with Dan, because I did bring that up. So in curving back around to our topic for tonight, in asking these questions of Dan, I guess it's been a pattern of behavior with Dan really since his election. You remember, Kate, for all of you that have listened for a long time, you remember how Dan used to communicate frequently? Like, we would text each other. I would ask him questions and he would respond. Do you remember that? You remember that, Kate? How he would respond? Like he would answer questions. So
yeah, Dan was really communicative until he actually got elected, and then he started chopping people off of his list of people he would talk to.
Yeah, but I even mean, yes, you're absolutely right about that. But I even mean, after he was elected, for about a year, he was willing to communicate, even though I was questioning and taking shots at him.
Well, that's because everyone was trapped in their houses, and he knew you couldn't actually go look at him.
That's true. That is true. That is true. That's true. That's interesting to see the difference that COVID played on him versus how he is now. So since his election, and basically it was from right before the primary last year, so April, May, he stopped responding to questions. He stopped responding to emails, and communicating with him became an absolute chore. Hey, Catherine, we'll get you on one day this week. I'll call you. I'll call you tomorrow, and we'll get a time to get you to come on. I've been real busy dealing with my grandparents' stuff this weekend, but I will get a hold of you. So I guess I've just kind of gotten used to the fact that that's how Dan is. Now, it doesn't particularly bother me because I'm able to get information lots of different ways through City Hall. I've got sources that come to me with it. I've got people that I can ask. I've got employees that I can ask, all up and down his administration, into the police department, fire department, and everywhere else in between. So it's not really bothered me. It bothers me because, yes, he should be doing this, but I'm still able to get a response. Well, yeah, Space Cat, definitely do that. I'm interested. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you message me anytime that you feel that you're up to it, I'm definitely down. Yeah, that's the thing. And see, that's my whole thing is I just want to put them on the record. I just want their excuses. I know they're going to lie or it's going to be crazy or whatever, but because right now what I don't like is he has plausible deniability, right? So if he doesn't talk to anybody, he doesn't respond to anyone, well, then when the shit hits the fan and I come up with whatever I'm going to come up with on any given topic, and I'm like, well, this, and this, he can always be like, well, I never said anything. You didn't hear that from me. And I'm sorry, but I have no respect for somebody like that. I have no use for an individual because I'm going to be honest. I consider it a lie. See, what Dan doesn't understand is, to me, that that's it. That is interesting stuff. But to me, Dan can lie a couple of different ways. Dan can just tell an outright lie, which I've caught him in. Dan can tell a little fib, like a little white lie, or he can lie by just obfuscating, but he can lie through omission, more or less. And yeah, I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, there's a hierarchy of what's worse. But I'll be honest, when I'm looking at a public servant and I'm asking them a question there to their face, or I've typed an email that I know that they've gotten and they just don't respond, that's the lowest of the low, in my opinion. Because now not only are they lying through that omission or through not giving the information or whatever, they're also, turning away from the basic building block of what it is for them to be an elected public servant. And I have a major problem with that. So I reached out to, and I'm not going to say who. I have to protect this person. But I reached out to someone today and asked, is Dustin Clark back? So Dustin resigned on Friday. I wanted to know if Dustin was back. And the first answer I got back was, what do you mean back? Well, what do you mean? I mean, is he back? Is he back? Is he back? Is he back to work? Is he back in black? Is he back to the future? I mean, what do you mean? And it seemed as if the person was, for one reason or another, giving me a little bit of the, well, I don't know what you mean. And I was like, now listen, we all know that he resigned on the 22nd. I understand that when some people do that before they then take another job with the same people, they might say, well, I'm going to take a week's vacation, or I'm going to take 2 weeks vacation. So here's what I was needing to know. I didn't get a chance. I should have called Amber, but I didn't, and I will tomorrow. But it doesn't matter. I've already issued a records request, so I'll know one way or another. But I don't want to send a records request asking for the contract and then deny me because they don't have a contract because he's not signed it yet if we're waiting on him to get there to do it. So that's the reason I'm asking. And it's just like, quit playing games. Just say, if he's back, he's back. If he's not, he's not. And like, what's the deal? So then the conversation like got deeper. And I said, you know, like, what gives? And this person then said to me, I don't think there's going to be a contract. And I'm like, what? There has to be a contract. I was like, there has to be a contract with this person. And this person was like, no, there doesn't. And I was like, yes, they have to. You can't. Yes, there better be a contract. Absolutely. Because per Indiana law, per state board of accounts, they can't just be funneling money to an unknown entity. That would be a big no-no. So we went back and forth a little bit, and then we found out that, well, we were talking about two different things. For example, like Adam, who is the former city engineer / street superintendent, who's now and has been a contract employee for the city of Muncie for nearly 2 years now, close to that, or something like that. The contract is not with him directly. It's with the company that he also currently works for since April. All right. Yeah, since April. So I was a little off. It'll be a year this coming April. So the contract is not with him directly. It's for the company that he works for, and they get money and then, you know, they pay him. It's for his services. And I'm like, okay, well, yes, I get that. But Dustin doesn't have a company name that he would use. And ladies and gentlemen, that was when I was told the craziest thing that I've been told so far. And that is, well, yeah, he'd probably just use Greenlight Resources. And I was like, there is no way Dan would be that stupid. So now what I'm afraid that they are setting me up for is the fact that we've already created a contract with them, and that's what they're going to go from. That's what they're going to go with. Now, what do you think about that, Kate? What you think that? Yeah, at least the company that Adam works for is legitimate. However crazy and everything there is with Adam, at least it's an actual legitimate company that wasn't kind of connected to some kind of weirdness going on with the city.
Do you happen to have that contract handy?
I do. The
original one that he wrote up with Greenlight Resources.
Greenlight Resources. Yeah, let me get down to, was it April of this year? And all that craziness happened?
I I think so. March or April. Probably April. Let's look. Oh dear. Let's see here. So we did a lot of talking about Greenlight resources starting the end of April.
End of April.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, he was around the eclipse, but we didn't get the contract until a couple of weeks after that.
Yeah, because what happened was it was the...
Oh, Lord.
I just...
I'm trying to remember how that was written, if that was written as an hourly rate.
We'll have it here in 1 second.
It'd be really interesting if he just picked that one back up and put it back in place.
What?
Did he ever actually cancel that contract?
No.
See?
No. What? Yeah, here we go.
Yes, I think Kristopher's planning on being at the county council meeting tomorrow.
Oh, yes. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. We talked about a lot of that last night, Ryan Webb. Hey, real quick.
Snacks.
Oh, no. I had one of those. Those are some of the best. Those little Christmas trees. Hey, Ryan Webb, real quick, while you're here, and I'm going to have you come on sometime and tell, will you confirm or deny in writing here that you have talked to people in the community, like citizens and business people and other people, and that almost every time you talk to them, they tell you something. They tell you something about you responding. What is it, without me saying any more than that, what is it that they tell you about responding? When you respond to various people that email you or text you or call you, what do they tell you?
I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm a mom, so it's just kind of, resting bitch face is kind of the normal state of things. That, and I take great delight in scaring the shit out of my children over completely innocuous stuff.
Okay.
Christmas Nutty Buddy. Did you know they make Christmas Nutty Buddy bars, my love?
They say they don't get a text, call, or return. Yes.
I haven't seen the Christmas Nutty Buddies. That makes me sad.
What I was really going for was that they tell you that they're shocked that you respond because nobody else does. But if that's the same thing. All right, here's the pictures of Morgan Warden. So it's got to be right around here. Okay, there's red. Okay.
There's a lot of things that you can't find at the Winchester Walmart. Oh, he hears that also.
Yep. Okay.
I said, they did this investigation, but I don't remember them ever saying that contract had been canceled. So it'd be really interesting if they just pick that up like there wasn't, like nothing had happened in between.
Well, and that's what's really interesting about that, because
And I can't recall whether it was an hourly rate or a per job, but I want to say it was hourly. And it was something stupid.
Here it is. I'm going to send it to you. Sending it to you right now.
Oh, look at that. Cold lemonade. Oh, I'm so sorry, Stumbleflick. Life dealt you lemons. You know what you do with those when that happens? You freeze them and then pelt them at the people that threw them your way to begin with.
Yeah, I threw it your way. And so it's only one page. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, it is one page. And
correct. Hourly rate of $125 an hour.
$125 an hour.
Mm-hmm. And this agreement for services begins on 11/21/23 and expires 12/31/27.
Yep.
So through the remainder of the term. So $125 an hour. Okay. And he's supposed to be like the full-time bitch boy, right?
Yeah. Okay. Let's say,
full-time bitch boy. He's working 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
40 times 125 is $5,000 a week. Times 52 weeks a year is a $260,000 job.
Say that number again.
You really want me to repeat that horse shit? You
don't have it?
Oh, I do. It is $260,000 a year for 40 hours a week at the $125 rate according to that contract.
That's what it's going to be off of.
Even if he only works 20 hours a week, $130,000 a year to be the mayor's bitch.
So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. What we're saying is, can you put that picture in the overlays?
I sure can. Nothing would delight me more.
So we're not going to get a contract from Dustin. And first,
there's already one in place. I thought I remembered that it went all the way through his term.
It did. It went because this was actually put in place before the election, but it went through because we were like, well, wait a minute. I mean, another mayor could, like Jeff, could have just killed it, but it was like, well, wait a minute. Yeah. So here's this.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. Agreement for services. This agreement is made by and between the City of Muncie City and Greenlight Resources, LLC, Greenlight, as follows.
No, it's actually a couple of weeks after the election that it was signed. 11/21/23.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, that's right. Greenlight will provide general contractor consult. What is it?
Consultation
services for City of Muncie and mayoral initiatives, including but not limited to grant writing services, including administration of award, if awarded, strategic planning, redevelopment consultation, project oversight as needed, other duties as assigned by city. Hourly rate will be $125 per hour. City will provide office space, internet, and other essentials to complete tasks, including access to a copier to Greenlight personnel upon advance notice of 24 hours. This agreement for services begins on 11/21/23 and expires 12/31/27. Any modification to this agreement for services must be made in writing and signed by all parties. This agreement for services may be terminated by either party only upon 90 days written notice delivered to the other party. 11/21/23, Dan Ridenhour, mayor. And it looks like 12/7/23, Morgan P. Warden.
Mm-hmm. Now, interesting thing. Dan went to the council and told the council that he needed them to fund a deputy mayor position for him, right?
Yep.
What did he say that deputy mayor was going to be doing?
Economic development.
Mm-hmm. What is entailed with economic development, generally speaking?
Well,
Grants, finding companies, helping with contracts, that kind of stuff, right?
It could be, yeah. It
Could be.
normally hasn't in the past, but yes, it very well could be. It should be.
Yeah, it should be. Can you pull that contract up again and go through the list of stuff that he's got a old dusty bitch boy doing?
Yep.
So what's that list? Grant writing, strategic planning,
redevelopment consultation, consultation, project oversight as needed, other duties is assigned, hourly rate 125.
It sounds kind of like the things that he said that the deputy mayor was going to be doing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, 100%. Well,
ironic.
So that goes back to
Stephen Hotops or whatever.
Yeah, Brian Stevens Hotop. Yeah, basically getting paid too much. Yeah,
what it was.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. Now he's got the deputy mayor in the form of, his bosom pal, and his bosom pal gets to rate the citizens some more. It's fantastic.
So can the council step on Dustin and Dan's contract? No, because as long as he's paying it out of edit, as long as Dan has edit, he can pay him all that with no question. No council input, no council say. That's it. That's that. That's over. It's done. That's that. It is what it is. There will be no contract. They'll say, I've already got the contract. That's all I'm getting. That's all it's done. It's a done deal. And let me tell you why this is happening. This is happening because Dan is petty. Dan is petty. And he is saying that if the council wants to screw with me, I'm going to make it hurt. And that's why this is happening. Yep. No minimum or maximum amount of hours that for Dustin or Morgan or whoever else. So $260,000 a year. Dustin went from working and being paid. What was he paid? She's looking up in green light, I think. Just a little over 70,000, Alva. Just a little over 70. But it's funny that you say that because I want to show you this. Let me show you this. I remember this was the big thing right when Dan first started. When Dan first started working. Let me see it like this. I'll do it like this. top. Money. City engineer. Yeah, right here. Okay. So hey, I just sent you something. Can you put that thing up too, please? Thank you. Sorry. So Dustin made in 2023, Dustin made 54,000. Ivy made 68,000. Dan made about 70,000. But let me tell you what Dan does for the people who have his back. Let me tell you what he does when he's taken care of people, and it's always really strange. This is what it looked like. And this was a big battle that I fought with the mayor back in December of 2020. What you're looking at here on the screen is, it says, the left column says city. It says Muncie, Noblesville, Westfield, Fishers, Carmel, Bloomington, and Indianapolis. Then in the middle, just to the right, then it says population. Muncie's at 68,000. Noblesville is at 63.1. Westfield is at 41.5. Fishers is at 93.3. Carmel's at 93.5. Bloomington is at 85, and Indianapolis is at 177,000. Okay. Now the job title, in the job title it says city engineer. For Muncie, it's city engineer, street department, MSD board. Noblesville was assistant engineer. That's all they had. Westfield had a city engineer. In Fishers, it was just called engineer. Carmel engineer. And then in Bloomington, they have a director of engineer, assistant engineer. And in Indianapolis, they have a director and an engineer administrator. The Muncie city engineer back then was getting paid $525,000 per year. The state capital wasn't paying their top two people even close to $525,000. Again, Bloomington wasn't paying their. You could put Fishers, Carmel, and Bloomington together, and they would just barely be making that. Matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, we went down through and looked for city engineers all across America, and there wasn't one making that amount of money. Now, granted, it doesn't go to him; it goes to his business, which he was the sole person of his business. There was a business that he took the name from that had a bigger business out in Colorado, and he worked for them. But when he was here, he worked for that like subsidiary business, and it was him and him alone. So it was a screwed up Dan deal. They just, there was so much nonsense. It was so convoluted. But the whole point is like, what is happening? What do these guys know about you? What do they have on you that you're paying these people this amount of money? Why would Dustin's contract for this job he's just now starting, why would they go through Greenlight Resources? I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole if I was him. If I really was wanting to, get off on a fresh start and do the right thing. Why did they not work to do this the right way? Why are they going to go through this? Now, listen, maybe they're not. We're just assuming because I can't get Dan to respond. I can't get Dan to answer. But it is what it is. And this crap continues, just like the emails I was talking about last night. Now, everybody's saying, wait a minute. The title of this episode was The Delaware County Republican Secret Santa Christmas Party. What does any of this have to do with that? Look here. This was the thumbnail I made. This is really nice. Look at this thumbnail. It's like a speakeasy. That's kind of an inside joke. You've got someone from the family on the other side of that door. This sign says, nothing to see here. Certainly not Beth Henry and some Delaware County Republicans holding a secret Christmas party for Indiana AG Todd Rokita on Saturday, December 14th, 2024. Invite and password required, with pictures of Beth Henry and Todd Rokita up on the outside of the wall with their Christmas tree there and their decorations up, and have that invite and password handy to get in. Well, it's not just the county council. It's not just Dan Ridenauer. It's not just his employees that won't cooperate with the public asking questions. It's our own conservative Republican Party, the party of constitutional values. Let me tell you about this. Everybody remember back 3 or 4 weeks ago, right before the election. It was like the 17th or 18th of October. Remember when I came on and announced, I broke the news that the Delaware County Lincoln Day dinner was canceled. Remember that? Wasn't that long ago. It was a Saturday the 19th. Saturday the 19th. They were supposed to have a big shindig, and Ed and Jessica couldn't get enough people to show up. They couldn't get enough interest. Look at the swing that they did. Look at the votes that the Republicans sent the world. Look at what the message was, the mandate that was given to the world. There was a lot of excitement about this election. And you mean to tell me that Ed and Jessica couldn't drum up some support, some interest in throwing down some cash and helping the Republicans out and coming out to party with them and party with the party, and to listen to Todd Rokita talk? Todd.
Well, not only that, but like the Lincoln Day dinner is like an annual tradition. It's been going on for what, 80 years?
Yeah.
Close to 90? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Diddy oil. That's
I saw that. I love it. Yeah. Well, look at this. This is something that's going around. For some reason, these secret fundraisers. I know, isn't that strange? Well, take a look at this, Ryan. Have you seen this? Ryan? I received this today. Received word of it yesterday. Received this today. Delaware County Republican Women's Club presents their annual Christmas brunch. December 14th, 2024. The Delaware Country Club, 510 South County Country Club Road, Muncie, Indiana, 47302. Guest speaker Todd Rokita, Indiana's Attorney General. coffee/tea at 9 a.m., brunch at 9:30. We will be collecting donations for a better way of Muncie. See enclosed list. Bring a friend and enjoy the fun, food and friendship, door prizes and more. $30 per person, RSVP by December 9th or by mail or text. Now is a great time to renew your Delaware County Republican Women Club membership for 2025. We've included a renewal form for your convenience. Now, you want to hear some screwed up stuff? They literally kicked the mayor's wife out of this club either the beginning of this year or the beginning of last year. I can't really remember which. They kicked Ridenhour's wife out of this. And a whole bunch of Republican women went storming out. This thing is a freak show. So what we're hearing is these people aren't just sending this out in the world. Like, they didn't send this to me. I'm not invited. And I promise you, Ryan's probably not invited. Now, Ryan and I ought to go as like 1 + 1. We ought to go as like a date. I think that would be a good time. But the reason I'm hearing that they're doing it by invite is because, number one, Rokita's people said he didn't want any problems. Ha ha ha. Good for you, Ryan. Good for you. And the Republican Party said, well, we don't want any problems either. So they decided to do it clandestine. That's the reason it's going to be in this little get up here. If you're wondering who the pictures are on the wall, that's Beth Henry and Todd Rokita. Now, if you're wondering who Beth Henry is, who is Beth Henry? Well, she's the wife of Shannon Henry. And she is as establishment as it gets. Because they don't want people because this is what this is. They don't want people asking questions. They don't want anyone there asking any questions. That's what this is about. Let me tell you something. When elected officials go all over the state, they just go. When elected officials come anywhere in East Central Indiana, it's always like, oh, they come like trying to come under the cloak of darkness, under the cover of darkness, because they realize that, oh man, I'm in Henry County. Bilbrey could come here. Oh, I'm in Delaware County. Bilbrey could come here. I'm in Henry County. Bilbrey could come here, you know. So the Republican Party, be it the local party, the state party, they don't like questions. They don't like questions. They're not fond of questions. No, I get that. I get what you're saying. That's not the issue. It's them. It's them, Ryan. It's not. It's yeah. Yes. See, what you're not understanding, Ryan, is what I'm telling you is Okay, it's like this. It's like when all of the people come over to Cinderella's palace and have the fancy party downstairs with all of the evil people, with all of the evil bitches, the stepsisters. And they want to keep Cinderella locked upstairs. They don't want them to see the beautiful Cinderella, so they want to keep them away. So all of these people in the Republican Party that have people fooled elsewhere that thinks that they're, doing a wonderful job, they run a really scary risk when they invite people here. Okay? And so what happens is the Delaware County Republicans try to keep it quiet. Yes, like that Jim Banks meeting. Now, listen, I'm not the biggest fan of Jim Banks for lots of different reasons. But how No. Tweety Bird, stand by. I'll tell you about the deal. No, I'm answering Ryan real quick. I'll come back and I'll tell you the deal with Dan's wife here in just a second. What they're doing, Ryan, is they're trying to keep the people at the State House away from seeing that the party is in shambles. They don't want those people to see that the party is a shit show. Well, how can they do that if they've got, you showing up and me showing up and Troy Ingram showing up and, Chad Mock showing up and these people asking questions of the party? Then they're like, what in the hell? That's just like when the state party people saw everything go down at the women's deal at the beginning of the year. And they were telling like Cherish and Amber, yo, you guys need to get in touch with the state people because they wouldn't put up with this shit. They would not see this. We would not want to see this. And so the Ed and Jessica and Scott Alexander, they're like, no, everything's fine here. Nothing to see here. Everything's fine. They don't want the ostracized people coming. So they're trying to hide. Yes, that is exactly right. They don't want the people that are saying, wait a minute, there's more. We're actually the conservative constitutional people. These people are idiots. They don't want that happening. So that's what they're trying to stop from happening. Now, bottom line with Dan's wife, okay, in the Republican Party with the Women's Republican Club. Now understand, I will clearly say this just in case anyone is confused. I am not a woman. I don't pretend to be a woman on TV or any place else. I am not a woman. I do not speak for women. I'm not attempting to speak for women. I was not at the Women's Republican Club when this happened. I did talk to a lot of sources. Rokita told me the same thing after the candidate breakfast. He immediately picked up on, yes, I remember that, Ryan. I remember you guys talking about that because you were saying stuff to him and everybody else was kind of like, and yeah, when he was like, what is the deal? What's going on? That's what they don't want. They don't want that to happen. They don't want people. They idolize these people at the state level, man. That's they're all like, oh, they're all pick-me's. They're a bunch of pick-me's. Jessica's like, oh, I'm going to be called up next. Look, Scott was called up. They're making room for me. I'm going to be called now. And it's like, you have nothing to offer, man. You're a nobody. So the bottom line, Tweety Bird, I'm not a big fan of Dan. I'm not a big fan of Dan, and I don't like a lot of things that he's done, and I don't like a lot of the ways he goes about doing things. However, I will hand it to his wife. His wife wanted the votes at the Republicans' Women Day Club. She wanted it to be ran properly. She wanted the people, when they were electing the officers of the Republican women, the president and the vice president and the secretary, she wanted it basically to be where people go in and they vote secret ballot, just like we do here in America. They count the votes and, we let the cards fall where they may. Well, Jessica Piper's mom, and a bunch of those people, they didn't want that. They wanted to do it differently, and they were afraid of somebody other than, Beth Henry or, Jessica or her mom or somebody, one of their inner people. They were afraid of somebody other than them winning the vote. And so they were showing their ass. They were telling people that had paid, they hadn't paid their dues already. They did a whole crazy thing, and a bunch of big name Republican donors got up and walked out when they were treating Sherry Ridenhour like shit. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of how Dan has done some things, but I was in favor of what Sherry Ridenhour was trying to do at the Women's Republican Club. She was in the right. She was wanting it to be a secret ballot and let the chips fall where they may. But they didn't want to do that. And so it was a great big falling out. And she like left and was asked to leave or whatever. And she left and other people left. And that was that. That was after the municipal. That was at the very beginning of this year. They had a real shaky last year. And see, this is when Jessica had done a bunch of weird shit. Listen, when Ed so here, listen to this. This is so insane. The Republican Party, before Ed was the chairman, Victor Whitehead was the chairman. His vice chair was Jessica Piper. So you had Victor. Yeah, it's not listed. You will not see it listed, DC. You will not see it listed. It will not be listed because it's going word of mouth. It's going word of mouth. Matter of fact, I got to tell you, I got to be perfectly honest with you. What you see here is not the actual flyer that they sent out. It is a replica, almost. I'm going to tell you, this flyer is an exact replica, word for word, of the flyer they sent out. But in order to protect the people who have come together to leak this information, I had to recreate this document. So this document is what? Oh, can you confirm that you've seen have you seen this document? Have you seen the other one? Would you say it's like, could you tell that it was recreated? Okay. So it's like, it stands, and the reason I did this is because, so I've been talking to a couple different people that have been talking about this, and I didn't want to dime anybody out or drop the ball. So instead what I did is I just put it in Canva and I just pulled off and did what I could. But it's the exact same thing. But yeah, they're doing it by word of mouth. It's not going to be the Republicans, man, are in the locally. They're not even, it's not a Republican Democrat thing here locally. It is a Republicans the people that are in the power in the party trying to hold on to power, trying to keep outsiders out. It is a Republicans versus conservatives. Republicans versus normal Delaware County Hoosiers. That's what it is. You and Stumblefoot, you said you didn't do a secret ballot. You don't have to. If everybody agrees and they want to raise their hand or, say aye or whatever, you can do it that way. It's just whatever, the majority of the people want to do. And when you've got people, the point of what the women were doing was they wanted to be able to control what was going on. That's exactly right. That's exactly correct. That's what I don't understand. They're not that important. Being in politics isn't that important. These people need to come back to reality. Absolutely no one is trying to crash their worthless event for it to be a secret. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the absolute message. And until Ed or Jessica or Scott or JD Prescott or Beth Henry or Shannon Henry or any of these people understand this, they are always going to be playing, with several cards short of a full deck. They're not going to be doing what's right. This is why they this is the problem with this is why I guess rather want someone like Tim Nickum, people that are like selfless, that are like not, people who are out here doing it for the right reason. Like him, dislike him, whatever, think he's mean, whatever. Ryan Webb ran saying, look, I'm trying to run for 4 years. I'm going to do the very best I can in 4 years. And, when I leave, the goal is to not leave with any regrets. And I'm going to give as much as I can. Same thing that Troy Ingram did. That's why I respect those people. I think people think being a locally elected official or being the inner circle of a political party is a much bigger deal than it is. It's not really a big deal at all. Reality check. Yeah, dude, I can't, it might mean something being the mayor of New York or being the mayor of Chicago or being the mayor of Houston or, Miami. But hell, even those people, they get up out of bed, they got aches and pains, they put their pants on the same way, they eat, they shit, they die. It's all the same. It's all the same. Stumblefoot, I get it. I understand where you're coming from there. And it wasn't specifically that, because I could see where people would be like, well, they were, they got rid of the bigger people. Because when I say the big people, I mean people that had a lot of pull within the party, people that had a lot of reach for people all over, people that like back Ryan and want Republican values to be part of the party, instead of Jessica, the party has nothing to do to Jessica about Republican or conservative values. What the party means to Jessica is a chance to mold the party in her image and to keep people out that don't look, think, and act and move and breathe the way that she does. Literally, she said those words to an individual. She said, well, we've crafted a careful image and we try to protect that image. And it's like, what in the Germany, 1940s nonsense are you talking about? Yeah, bro. Yeah, we all still have day jobs. It's the high point in their life. Yeah, a lot of these, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's the thing. You look at a couple people like the elected prosecutor. All right. His day job, his full day job is being prosecutor. Elected judge, their full day job is being judge. The elected sheriff, but hell, man, even the elected coroner, most of those people have other jobs. The current elected coroner does. He's not there full time, and we got a lot of coroner calls, man. The image of professionalism. I would not call the current Republican leadership the image of professionalism. I would certainly say that's probably not true. Our local Republican Party is the epitome of what a uniparty looks like. They do not promote Republican values or principles. Almost none of them. Yeah, that's true. Okay. So that's the deal. And Ryan's right. No one's trying to crash their stupid party. What I am trying to do is I'm trying to claw them out of the darkness, because these are the people who want to be elected officials. And this whole idea of them living in this darkness, living in the gutter, that transcends from the party over into their roles as elected officials. And I have to try to beat that out of them, because I do not want that. We have to stop that. So while no one's trying to crash their party, I am trying to crash their sense of secrecy, because that's nonsense. But before we go, I want to say, number one, there is a Delaware County Council meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, the 26th, a Delaware County Council meeting. I will be at that meeting, and it'll be interesting to see. We are going to live stream the meeting right here on this channel. So we'll be able to live stream it, and it'll be there, and everything should run smoothly. You'll be able to watch it right here. And that should go pretty well. We'll also then talk about tomorrow's meeting tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for episode 339. Tweety Bird says, do you know of any government body that demonstrates transparency? Well, yeah, I mean, maybe former bodies that, I knew of them. For example, the Muncie City Council the Muncie City Council from 2020 to 2024, or 2023 rather, was transparent. I was talking today about the Howard County Commissioners up in Howard County, Kokomo. They're pretty transparent. They do a pretty good job. And I feel like the not Henry County, the Wayne County, the Richmond City Council body is trying to get there. Ryan says, I'm the most outspoken and transparent elected official in the entire state of Indiana, hands down. I will say that, he does give answers to questions and whatnot. So that is there. I will say that. Very vocal too. Really quickly, before we go, I want to play you something. I'll let you guys hear this. I heard this last night, and I decided to put it out. I wanted to put this out, and I wanted to talk about this. And I want to put this out here so you guys can see this, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So stand by 1 second. Ryan, don't go anywhere. I want to hear what you think about this as well. If you haven't heard this, I'm interested in what you think about this. Okay. I want you guys to listen to this and tell me what you think about this.
But what about the hard things, the places where we are prone to disagreement, say politics and religion? Well, as it turns out, not only does Wikipedia's model work there, it actually works really well. Because in our normal lives, these contentious conversations tend to erupt over disagreement about what the truth actually is. But the people who write these articles, they're not focused on the truth. They're focused on something else, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years of working with these brilliant folks, I've come to believe that they are onto something, that perhaps for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth might not be the right place to start. In fact, our reverence for the truth might be a distraction that's getting in the way of finding common ground and getting things done. That is not to say that the truth doesn't exist, nor is it to say that the truth isn't important. Clearly, the search for the truth has led us to do great things, to learn great things. But I think if I were to really ask you to think about this, one of the things that we could all acknowledge is that part of the reason we have such glorious chronicles to the human experience in all forms of culture is because we acknowledge there are many different truths. And so in the spirit of that, I'm certain that the truth exists for you and probably for the person sitting next to you. But this may not be the same truth. This is because the truth of the matter is very often, for many people, what happens when we merge facts about the world with our beliefs about the world. So we all have different truths. They're based on things like where we come from, how we were raised, and how other people perceive us.
All right. Have you guys seen this? Have you seen that, Kate? What's your thought about what you heard there? This is what's insane to me. So this woman is the CEO of NPR. Now, are you aware of what NPR is? NPR is the National Public Radio. Okay. So she's the CEO of a really left-leaning organization. NPR is supposed to be a national journalistic endeavor. It gets public funding, but I would say if you listen to any of their news pieces, it's always at a liberal slant. Almost always at a liberal slant. But it's interesting to me that this, to me, is not sane thinking. And I see Tweety Bird saying that truths are different than facts. I think that what's happening here is what I believe is happening, what I believe that these people are doing. I believe that people are confusing worldview for truth. If you look at the definition of truth, I will send you the whole thing. It's her TED Talk, and the whole thing's insane. Honestly, but that is just wildly atrocious. Because look, if she wants to have conversations about worldviews, literally everything she was talking about there is worldview. But to say that the truth is getting in the way of falsehoods might be getting in the way of moving forward, but the truth cannot be getting in the way of advancement unless you have an agenda that is different than the truth. And it's fine if you do. That's not the only definition. There is nuance to the modern usage of truth. Yeah, but you got to be careful when you start getting it so nuanced that you're no longer now defining the actual word. So show me a definition. What definition of the word truth are you using, and where is that definition coming from that would prove that it's anything outside of reality? Because in looking up several definitions when I put that thing together, in looking up several definitions for truth, which seems insane to me, one of the things that I kept coming back into, a lot of them, was reality. And let's talk about that. Are there different realities? I don't think so. I think there is reality, and then there is perception. There is your perception of reality, which your perception might be different, but that's your worldview. Truth is the reality, and then it's how you view it. Yeah, but yes, she does. And she's you and she are using that word incorrectly. It's not your truth. I remember when the left went crazy when Donald Trump talked about, having different truths. It wasn't really Trump. It was the woman, Kellyanne Conway. Talked about there being different truths. I had a friend that lost her mind when she heard Kellyanne Conway say this. And the thing is, it's not different truths. It's different world views on the truth. It's your perception of the actual fact. So are there different truths to 2 + 2 = 4? Is there your view on 2 + 2 = 4 and my view on 2 + 2 = 4? Is there a way? Okay, good. That makes me happy. I'm happy with that too. That makes me happy. So I get the question. I mean, my question to her is simply how can we have different viewpoints, different truths on 5 + 5?
Well, mathematically speaking, I suppose if you're talking about base 10 versus base 12, 5 + 5 is different.
Okay. That could very well be. But
but it comes back to 1984.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
2 + 2 is 5.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Wait, what do you mean we can't? You people talking in 2-word sentences. What does we can't equal to? What does that? What part does what does we can't mean? That's what I should have called it. Math has one truth. Well, it's nice that something so meaningless in so many people's lives is the only thing that can be one truth. Why that to me that does not hold. I don't believe that. In my worldview, in my truth, there are 2 truths. Your math truth and my math truth. So, watch that video. If you want to see the full video, her video is on just simply in the video where that's because absolutely. I will send that to you, John. But I put the information in the episode. Go and give her a watch. Her name is Catherine Marr. Catherine Marr. She's the CEO of NPR. She's the former chief executive of Wikimedia, and she is a board member of Signal Foundation. So it's definitely interesting. But you can simply Google NPR Truth or Catherine Marr, spelled like Bill Maher, Maher. So go check that out. I'll send you the link to that, John. I just thought that was very interesting because I think it comes back down to this whole thing that I was arguing with Matt Kantz and what I'm going to talk to them tomorrow about. You know, he likes to say, well, you know, there's this way that he has to be treated and that, you know, I should just take being shit on by my elected officials. And when they want to get around to explaining something to me or telling something to me, well, they'll get around to it. And that means if Jessica Piper just never responds to me ever again, well, that's just tough shit. And that's just, you know, going to have to be something I understand. And I say, no, I don't accept that. My number one thing is, as a public servant, you work for the people. To me, that's truth. And if you don't, then bye-bye. Bye-bye. And a lot of people don't like that truth. So, I don't know. What are you pointing to?
The link is in the chat.
Ah, she put the link up there. Yeah, that's good. The Truth BS TED Talk. It's in the it's in the comments. So I will add that to the, hey, can you put it in the private chat? If you can do that. Send her a meatless cheeseburger, Chris, via DoorDash. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. Hey, tomorrow at 9 a.m., Tuesday, 9 a.m., Delaware County Council meeting. You'll be able to see it right here at the Political Spotlight. And then 12 hours later at 9 p.m. Eastern, at 9 a.m. Eastern, Delaware County Council meeting. Delaware County Council meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. 12 hours later, 9 p.m. Eastern. Right here, you'll be able to see our breakdown of that. And we'll talk about everything that's going on with that. We'll see what's going on. It should be interesting. Be sure to tune in. Watch all of that. Thank you all very, very much for tuning in and for everything. As always, be sure to give the show a like. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, and be sure to share the show with everyone you know. Until tomorrow, we'll call it a night. Take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time.